All right, team, let's get started with our day 10. It's not second session, this is in fact fifth session. I have to correct for the other docs too. Um, and I'm still doing the poll. I've got about 85% votes in. Can I get everyone 90% votes in to fill it in so I can close the poll? So kind of that's the result. Almost two-thirds of the audience is participating in the live project. And like I could gauge, most of you are unable to participate is because of the timings, or I could do in weekends, or there's one person who said not confident. If you're not confident, let that not be reason. I will get you in because there are tasks within the project that does not require you to be very technically savvy team. And that is where your orientation is important. So don't worry too much on that. Okay, let me close this one. Thank you. And I have one more team. Anyone? Okay, I did this polls earlier. I do remember, but I just want to connect again. We've been going into a lot of sessions. And team weekend projects. Maybe I can do weekend projects. I don't think anyone will have with 1 month weekend projects. Every weekend we meet, right? That's possible too. All right, great. Can you continue to fill this poll? Where are you in your QA career? Right from beginner or QA trained, automation trained, working in QA or working in automation? This is getting a wider picture team about all of us. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. I've got 91% votes in. Here they are. So very evenly distributed. Beginner, QA trained, automation trained, working in QA about 30%. That's where majority. Working in automation is limited. And in fact, I'm seeing some of the messages in the chat team, which are saying that I'm working in QA, but trained and interviewed in automation. They choose a manual role for me as it was needed. And that is what is going to happen, team. That is where continuous learning is important. Because once you get into a job, you may not do too much automation like we do in product development or we're doing with any art and so on. So, um, you know, for us, the journey of learning will be forever. Let's make it enjoyable. It's very simple. It's nothing big about it. Okay, great. Let me hide this. So where are we? So we were working with our automation framework. I don't require this HTML right now. I can close this. While I'm kind of going through and getting there, anyone has any questions of being able to run simple tests so far? And I think we should be here, PDF 7. We've not done much in it yet. We are yet to kind of get into it. Any questions, team? Let your questions get handled, and then we can get into the session. I can look at your screen, interact, and kind of guide you through it as well. Team, meanwhile, just finish these few questions and then we'll get started. I have the code ready. I just wanna, once we start with this flow, it'll go deep. All right, team. Sorry. So I'm going to close and share. So great. Thank you so much. 81% JPAC members and 14% training. A few of you non-members, and that's fine. Maybe you're attending the session for the first few times. So, all right, let's get going with what we were doing. So, what is it that this code was doing? And we were running this earlier code that basically had nothing in it. And then I have now this code. Remember, in our training, as we were going through, we created this simple plan for DDF. We will come to YouTube team. We will do a little automation on that as well. But let's look at it. Create a set of test data. Understand the application. Yes, we know what we want to do. And currently we're working on mortgagecalculator.org. Identify test scenarios. Okay, write detailed manual test steps. Create a set of test data. So we did that. We did that process, and these I know are the steps for it. Now, our main intent. Can you all see the screen, team? I'm sorry. Now, yes. No. Now, yes. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. At least says we're all live together. Okay. What was I showing? Eclipse, where we had a little code. We'll go through this. But before we get confused, let's look at our roots. We were talking about data-driven framework and a simple approach to it. And team, not very happy with what I did so far in this because it's got very simple things. What we are saying is you identify a test case or scenario for one set of data, and we want to repeat the same test cases. Oopsie. I never look at a keyboard when typing, team. I don't know how many of you do it. I got practice without it. So if my keyboard moves even a centimeter here and there from the position, all my typing goes for a toss. Repeat the same TCs for different sets of data. Now, how is it that I can achieve this? So the process is simple. You all have the clue about it. So we don't have to worry too much on that. So we go into the application, we're filling in a few details, we're seeing if it works fine, and we're getting the value from here and comparing it. Now, where is our content? Did we put it in a folder? I think so, we did. C drive, trainings. How do we practice the keyboard skills? Great. So team, okay, so while I'm doing this, I was born in 1977 and I have three elder sisters. And my second sister, who's currently in Sydney, she was an electronics engineering she did from CBIT. So she passed out in 93, I believe. And I joined Usmania University in 94, computer science engineering, 94 to 98. So I remember a little early when she went to, so this was still in mid 90s. She went to Australia after marriage and she came back to India, and all she was doing there, why do I have that screen open? Okay. Um, in when she came to India, she took a course. One of the courses she took a little later was SAP training, but she went to a typewriting institute. Yeah, and I was like phenomenally amazed that that effort to wake up early morning, have that old-fashioned typewriter, the QWERTY keyboard. Do you all even know why is it called QWERTY, or why are every alphabets in differently fashioned? Team, just asking a question. Do you know why? Why are they jumbled up? Why are they not in a straight thing? Huh. why can't it be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H like that? Why is it called QWERTY? QWERTY. Okay. So what used to happen in the earlier typewriting when people used to just typewrite on pages and even for book publishing and all that. So if I have these keys used to get stuck together when we are hitting the tuck 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 sound that comes on the keyboard. Not this. I'm talking typewriter when you're punching in. So you have a puncher that has an ink cartridge or a filament in front of it. So it takes that impression and then punches it. So if you're doing it too fast, there are almost two keys going at the same time while the punching, and they kind of get tangled. So they deliberately made typewriting slow so that you won't type too fast to avoid mistakes. Isn't that phenomenal story? I think, yeah, and I believe it. So I think you should all cross check. So it was QWERTY keyboard that we see today has been created because earlier in typewriting instruments, when if we type too fast, then keys will get logged, that actual pins that go and hit. And so that's why they made it slower. So we're not supposed to make it faster. So the way I do it is very simple. You open a notepad at any time and start writing. Hi, this is Karthik. Okay. Now see how many mistakes I'm saying. Now I'll try and improve this. Hi, this is Karthik. And even if I want to type this 1,000 times, that is all about it. When I see someone in a team, right, in a team atmosphere, when I see people and I see someone who's really punching the keyboard fast, it gives me a good impression. Doesn't it give you as well? It feels good, right? Okay, smart. Okay, this is going fast. So it's practice, team, nothing but practice. So, all right, great. So where are we? Test data. Now, what are we trying to say? See, I have these things in yellow, which is my standard input. And then I have these things maybe in a blue, which is going to be my output. So there is an EMI that I'm expecting, and there's an actual EMI. Now is the time I'm going to explain you Java as a diagram. Okay. And we'll write a lot of Java programs. You will write Java programs without knowing that you're writing Java programs, team. That's how we will approach things. Okay. Where was I? Just to make sure. Ting, ting, ting. Okay. Variables and then Excel. Okay. Good. So see, here is how it is. In my script, as we see right now, if I create, or let's assume this is the one DDF7, I'm going to save this before I make changes. And team, for me, one of the finest thing that works is self-criticism. I criticize myself so much in any given 24 hours period that any other human will literally feel, man, okay, it's painful. You have to, if you're looking for excellence. That's how we have to grow, team. See, all my students, you're all there. I want to share my journey, want to really motivate. Okay, where are we? What am I trying to do? Diagram of Java. Why is the data coming in? And now, what is the flow for me, team? See, I have a main method. In Java, we have a main method. And I basically saying that I have few variables. So my variables are holding information for me. And what are those variables? Like URL is there. Then there is what's that? Home value, down payment. So there's a home value, there's a down payment, and there's a interest that's coming out as an output, or that's also going in as a EMI is coming. Yeah, expected. So these are my variables. If I change this, my test will change. Think of it like this. Let's say Tesla manufactures, Elon Musk says, I'm going to make a smaller one-seater electric vehicle. and the purpose of it is to do 80 miles an hour in the freeway max, but at the same time very highly fuel efficient. It can do 800 miles or something on a fuel one single charge. So that has to be tested, right, on lot of conditions. Those becomes the parameter. So this is a URL, my home value, my down payment, and what is my expected EMI. That is what I'm looking at, team. So all these inputs are going in this table, but then I am saying that they're there in the Excel. So now if my data is in the Excel, I have to teach how my Java can identify and learn. And here is where you'll get introduced to arrays. Team, please remember, I'm not teaching you Java. Okay, not yet. You will get to learn Java as we go along, but just introductions to basic concepts that make our things easy. So now what is Java for me in this? One is these variables. Each of this are Java variables. What are Java variables, team? They just have a name and we can put a value into it. And that becomes my Java variable. Anytime I can change. Like I can change it out here. But what am I saying? That data is in my Excel. So now I will have to teach that how the data from that Excel is gonna come here. I'm gonna take this and then run it in the application. And I showed you yesterday this. So once I run it on the application will give me some EMI or monthly installment, and I'll put it back into the Excel. We are working on that. Now comes a different challenge. I have to read information. When I read information, I can take a single value and put it into a single variable, like here. Okay. Okay, a single name of a variable and a value into it. And this is perfectly fine. But how does an Excel sheet look? I have rows and I have columns. Always remember this. And this is where the concept comes up called as one dimensional or two dimensional. Okay. Now, what are these two about arrays and then how we can read data? So I want you to understand the concept of it, not how to code array, write an array, write an array, forget writing an array. Let's understand an array. Now you got this diagram. Now what I want to do, I want to create a set of variables. What should that variable have? Let us say only one thing is changing. For example, in this case, only my down payment is changing, right? So I will say that, you know what? First, okay, let me do this. Can I write just numbers or I don't know? Here's my down payment. Okay. If I create a variable, it'll just be this portion of it. Okay. Now with if I say DP, okay, if I name the variable called DP and put a value into it, and let us say I put 10, that value is done into it. So that goes into it. I can anytime change the value, call DP, it'll give me that value. Now what is happening is my DP is changing consistently, but the data is somewhere else right here, down payment. So I'll say this is 10, this is 11, this is 12, 13, 14. But actually it can never be that easy, correct? So it's down payment. Someone can pay 10, one can pay 9.5, another can pay 10.25, just giving very random numbers to something. Other can pay 9.3. Oh, my, my stupid drawing skills and my good mouse. And 9.1. See, so I have different sets of data now. So what it means is this is my first. So think of it like an apartment or a housing community. If this is a map, okay, in this map, this is a cross street, this is the entrance to it, and you have little whatever So let us say out here there's an apartment complex. Okay. And here there are homes. One, two, three, like this. Okay. There's a road here and there's another road here. And the more homes here too. Now the difference is each of these have a lane, street address. For example, I'll say 22047 Victory Boulevard. That points to a home. But that same thing address, if I say, can also point to an apartment building. But within the apartment building, I will say 101, 102, 103, 201, 202, 203, and so on. Same for hotels. Why? Because they all are living so close together to each other uh, as a community. One postal address is enough. Everyone else we will reference by numbers from there. So if you meet a friend from the same community in the apartment, you'll say, "Oh, okay. So where do you live? Oh, I live in 212. Where do you live? Oh, I live in 305. Oh, great, nice knowing that we live there." That's how we can say. I don't have to give the whole address in the same community. Correct? Now, to be able to enable that concept of being able to associate things together, we came up with arrays. And we said DP0 and the count starts with 0 team. Why on all that? Right now, don't question. Don't go digging deep into programming yet, team. So DP0 means the first cell. DP1 means the second one. Now tell me what would DP5 be? In this case, team, what would DP5 be? If the count starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is here then? You will then get saying that array index out of bounds because 5 is coming here, but you only created for 4. So there's no data in it. You have to initiate. And so we should avoid to make mistakes, but that is how we can identify. So 0 means first, 1 and so on. That is identifying. This is called a one-dimensional array. Why? All of them are in the same apartment complex, but one level only. It's like a hotel which is all one level. There's nothing on second level. But then my data is just not one row. It is all of this. This is changing. This is changing. This is standard. Maybe this also will make some changes. All right. Just for our sake. Okay. So my data is going to change. So now I have another complexity. And then came the concept of a two-dimensional array. They said, okay, you know what? You create one, but then I need more because there are rows and columns. Whenever I have to look at data, right, it's going to be rows and columns team. Database or anything that you'll see is rows and columns. It is a combination of these that will make things a little bit more in terms of complex architecture databases, but rows and columns are standard. So in this, can you all tell me what is in C5, please? C5. And that is where we have to be very smart initially, team. See the column names A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and so on. C5. What is C5 value, everyone? Team, you're much more active than I've seen. Okay. See, okay. Now, here is where I think we're getting confused. I did not open Eclipse or show it there, correct? What was the other thing that I was showing here? So this I know would have failed maybe. But here, C is the name of the column. 5 is the row number as per that. C5 here always means this value. Now what is, let's say A3, we go here. D4, this big value here. You understanding? Excel always looks at it like that: column name, row number. That is how it will go: column name, row number. Now, when it comes to the same thing, for us to understand in within Java, I need to create a two-dimensional array. So the same thing we can create here. And all I need to say then is give the values. So let's say this is the name of this array is called DTD. Okay, D test data or DTD. Now, if I say DTD 0 and 2, what will the value be, team? DTD 0, 2 for that array. So see, for Excel, it starts with 1 rows and columns A, B, C, D. But two-dimensional array in Java, the count starts from zeros. So the 0 is your first row or column. So what is the value that will come there? There can be only one correct answer. You all know, right? And so far I've gotten now I got one. The first one is row or column. So this goes to a row. And the next one goes to a column. Correct, everyone? That is how we are building it. Correct means if you don't know earlier, now you know. That is more than enough to know. But now let's see where is row number 0. What will be row number 0? First one. And column number 2. Okay, so this is 1, 2. So is H value correct? Absolutely incorrect. I'm mocking and having fun laughing at you all on it. So it starts from 0, I was telling, remember? So 0, 1, 2. The only correct answer for this is D, pay. See how much it is that we are not able to learn. Now, one more question to you all. What would be DTD? Same thing. Square brackets open, square brackets close, square brackets open, square brackets close. All right. Let me take a different color. And let's say 2 and 3. What will the exact value be, team? DTD 2, 3. So when I'm saying DTD, it is like a two-dimensional array that Java can recognize. So your count start from 0, 0. And here I don't want anyone to make a single mistake. There are 1,000 ways to make a mistake. There is one way to do a solution. ETD 23. Where are we on that? So again, row number 0, 1, 2. Perfect here. Column number 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. $390.50. How could some of you who did make a mistake? And some of you did not put a dollar sign as well. Some of you left that 50 cents, rounded it off. It is okay, team. But then, see, let's not assume. There's only one correct answer. And that is what these tools can do. Okay. I have a hand raised. I don't know whose. Is there any question anyone would love to speak? Or Mark, you have your hand raised. Anyone else with a question? Did you have a question mark for me? So you understood, team, how arrays are working. Now let us look at the same thing again in the code level. So what is it that we did? Very simple, team. Let's again write. See how many times we're going to write this code. How many times you're going to watch my videos, see, okay, Karthik has spent effort. Let's try and do the same. I'm going to convert this code into JUnit. How can I do this? Very simple. Delete everything first. Why do I want to do it in JUnit? I'll explain to you. Only because of my add before, add test, add after. So the lot of JUnit test, right? This looks good. I can take this. Actually, it has some more information and I'll copy that. So DDF 8 underscore MC add before, add test, add after. So in my before class, all I want to do is launch Chrome and go to the website. Okay. Now, what is my logic? And in my after class, I'll just say my driver dot close. And sometimes Eclipse also crashes, team. You may have to restart and you lose work. So I keep forgetting to say, keep saving your work every 10-15 minutes so you don't lose it. Okay. Now I'm closing it here. So if I run this test, will everything run fine? This is my test. Or rather, after any syntax errors, if there's syntax errors, it will show up here, red. So nothing here. It's only saying there's so many imports you have not used. That's fine. I'm just looking at results. JUnit test, please. Thank you. Say okay. Just open browser, go to the application and close. That's all it's gonna do, team. Okay. Now comes my functionality. Where is my core functionality? My core functionality was there in the previous one, DDF7 here. Okay, so from URL all the way, I'll take it into my test. My objective is very simple and I'll explain to you. So see, I have these variables now. And now comes the time also to talk about the life of any variable that we creating. You remember I mentioned sometime back there's something called as a block of code, like this curl brackets. They have a start and they have an end. This is the start and this end is somewhere here. This is the end and its start is somewhere there. Okay. But if I minimize this, for example, I can see that, it's all gone, but here is my code to look at it. And I can go deeper and see as to what is it that it is doing. So it's doing a bunch of commands for me, team. Okay, so let me just add an exception for this. Anything that is born within the that block will belong to that block. So yesterday we were talking about variables. String that we were saying is one variable type. You can put a number into it, alphanumeric, characters, and so on, as long as double quotes are there. We created this range and we're starting to put some values. So the life of this variable start here and will end as soon as we come to the end of this. You understood what I'm saying? So the whole program will not have access to what you created on line 40 because it is relevant under line 35. So as this test gets executed, it will be born here and it will die there. That's all it will do, team. So let's keep that there. Now, All this execution will also happen now with these values I'm assuming. Let's run this and see. Now we will copy that Excel read write, show you how quickly we can do that mapping. Is it done? Maybe that was the other one. Looks like, yeah, all green. So everything worked fine and even my test passed. Okay, so this is good. Now, what is changing this data? Where is it changing from my Excel? So what we will do at the very beginning itself, we're going to read this data team. We'll not wait till the end. So the Excel data is read at the beginning. So what is our beginning out here? Here, I will read data. Now I want my data to be accessible everywhere. So I'll call this a string, my TD. But since this is something called as a two-dimensional array, I will actually, I don't even have to declare it here. Where is the function from the previous one? Excel read write. Hmm. I still have someone's hand raised. I don't know whose. Can you all check, please? And after, I'm putting this function. Read Excel, write Excel. String f path string. Okay. So string of two dimensions x td. Okay. Now here we already know what that code is doing. I can say xtd equals read Excel, and for this I need to provide inputs as to where my Excel is present. So this is the name of that function. There are two inputs, name where the file is and the name of the sheet. So first let's get that file name team. So the file name will be something like this. So that's called copy, and I'm going to put it here. But this is not going to be the exact one. So let's save this as, we were putting it in the right folder, DDF2. Okay, that's fine. Where is properties for this? Info. Okay, DDF2. Properties, security, get the entire path. Oh, and I need it to be XLS team. It cannot be XLSX. So, oopsie, what am I even doing? Ah, here. So that Excel itself, Alt F8, let me save it as 3 so we'll not get confused. And in here, just make DDF3. Okay, next variable. I've not even explained. I don't know why I kind of skipped a few of these basic core Java things, team. Like what is a method and so on. I'll cover it. Please don't worry about that. The next is the sheet name. So for this Excel, the sheet name is sheet 1. So I just need to provide this. So what basically I'm giving is an input. And now let's try and understand what this does. Okay. XTD. Can you all see what I'm doing? Some kind of more coding than talking right now. X rows equals X TD dot length. Actually, I don't need this. Then X columns will be, I'll take the first one, 0 dot length, X columns. So by this time, this should get executed. Let me do something called as a bulk comment, where I'll put slash star all the way till there, so that I don't have to open WebDriver. So slash forward slash star and then star forward slash. So right now it's just launching, but at least I'll get to know what are there as my rows and columns. Okay, let's run this. So if it is able to correctly recognize that, it should give that 4, 6 or 5, 6 numbers here. Okay, they're great. Rows are 5, columns are 6. Now what uh, actually happened, team, at this point in time? Let's understand. So you know that these statements are launching the browser, navigating to the application, maximizing it, and so on, right? What is it that read Excel did? Okay. Whenever there is a function or a method we call in Java, we basically have written a code for it somewhere. Either it is here or it is in our jar libraries that we keep referencing. So the whole purpose is to get that data into, what was I saying? Okay, so to be able to execute certain steps, how can I explain simply functions, Java functions in a very simple way? Okay. Let us say that you have a regular program of Java or Selenium, and you have, like, for login, you open browser, then you navigate browser, and you close browser, correct? Uh, Now here you have enter, okay, click login link, enter username, enter password, click on, login again, confirm that sign in happened, then click on the profile icons, then click on logout, confirm logout, and close browser, right? All these steps are there. Now, what is happening is, for any scenarios, we're saying let's combine some steps and put them together. Like what? Anytime I have to log in, okay, at least open browser, navigate browser, click on logging, enter password, enter and username password, click login, confirm sign in. Till there is same. So we said let's make it a function. Say user login, and whatever you want, you can pass into it. So functions are nothing but activities, team, combined together as one step after the other. You call them, they have to execute in that fashion. And when you're executing these activities, you will notice that um, you can change what is called as inputs into these functions. So now, what could be a simple real life example for us? All right. Your car output is a function, team. Okay. Car speed, let us say. How is it a function? What is it dependent on? It is dependent on the gear you are in, the amount of acceleration you are at, the road conditions, correct? The tires, how they are, the weather conditions. Once you set them, then you say that, okay, it should still be able to do this speed. That is a test that you're doing. Okay. But you're basically saying that I want to check the speed. Every time, all it does is goes and checks the speed. The driver has got nothing to do. Just sit in the car, go drive it. But each time the driver has to input these details of different things. So whenever we find reusable things that we can call with one action, we make it a function. An action can be as simple as teaching a like a robot saying, go fetch that ball in the corner of the room. That is still an instruction. If the robot is smart or have taught it well, it should be able to do it. But that instruction can become constant. I don't have to keep on teaching it every time. That concept, taking that into a function, is what we're saying. Read Excel is a function that we wrote. Navigate or to here or manage dot window or maximize are the ones Selenium WebDriver open source the community creators wrote. So this code you can find here, but I don't want you to look at all these reference libraries, what each of them in meaning and so on. Not necessary for us team. But what is essential is this code that we wrote. Where is this now? So I don't need my test. If I go down, here is where it is. So see that entire read Excel is here. Send a path, send a sheet, and then I have this. Now, how does it work? Very simple code team. It basically says this is the difference between creating a single variable where it says string x comma y and so on, and here it says string open close square brackets open close square brackets. Whenever you see a close square brackets team, you are talking about arrays and lists and so on, and everything is dependent on different programming skills team. Very easy for you to get kind of mixed up, but fundamentally let's get one thing right. So you're seeing a square bracket, that means that okay, it's an array. You're seeing a round bracket, it means it's a function that we need to send some values into. Great. So it's basically right now created a skeleton. That skeleton looks something like this. All with me? Am I boring you? I'm picking up speed team. So just letting you know. I'm only worried because sometimes I may lose students of their thought, not about memberships. Um, yeah, I have a very different approach to life. Okay, integer x rows, x columns. Now see, remember what is it that we did here? Earlier, all we were doing here was very simple. Whatever this does at the end of it, this right side will get replaced on the left side with that content, and that content is that two-dimensional array team. And that two-dimensional array has the data for us. So when I say x rows is xtd.length, it is a property of this specific two-dimensional array. It says how long is it. It basically gives me the number of rows. Now, what about this statement? It says that go to my first row. So when I say 0, it is going to my first row. Remember the image here? We were drawing, playing around. Where was it? Here. Good. 0, 1, 5, and so on. So this is saying go to my first row and then get the length. So I already have my row. Now what length will I get? Go on the columns. So first will get me the rows, second will get me the columns. Now, what is it that I'm doing within this read Excel? First and foremost thing, forget about data formatter, all of this. I'm just reading file. Read it like English. I don't want you to write or master this code. If you ask me to write this code, I still have to Google and write it again. All that it is doing is this HSSF workbook makes that connection happen between Selenium and Excel. Once that connection has happened, you're able to read that data. So once I've made that connection to where is that path, then I have that Excel. In that Excel, where is my workbook? What sheet? So in that sheet, now I'll say I'm getting the rows and columns. Once I got the rows and columns, there is something called as a for loop, which we'll explore team right now briefly. But it'll go through an iteration. Now this for loop is basically going to each row, one row at a time, then one column at a time, getting the value and putting it here. So X data is kind of getting filled. I and J will be the variables, and they are kind of getting back when we return X data. Now, for me to run this test, all I need to do are very simple things, team. See, I'll tell you what will happen. I'll just quickly run it. If time permits, it'll run fine. I know that I have to go to these things repeatedly, right? This I don't need here. Why again here? My test. It'll start from sending keys, correct? Values I need. These, why should I define it here? Let me take it into my class. So if it is under my class, any method under my class can use it. So they're more available. So this is my before test. This is my actual test that I'm trying right now. I don't need another string VURL. There is VURL. So all these are kind of bogus for us. And then it runs. Now let's run this as is. And this is just one set of data, correct? In 5 more minutes, we'll just do one loop with multiple. It should also be able to close at the end. Okay, perfect. My test runs fine. Now my data changes. Where is my data? It's all there in XTD. So now see what I'll do, team. There is something called as a for loop. For loop lets me iterate through a specific count. If I say I equals 0, for example, and I give a condition as the next statement saying I is less than, what is that? Number of rows, X rows. And then each time I'll say I equals I plus 1, like incrementing. This is called a simple for loop, team. When I'm doing a for loop, what happens? Okay. Okay, so what is it doing? For loop. So when I say something like for, say what is int I, and if I say I equals 10, that's a value that I gave. Whenever I print that, I will get the value of I there. That's as simple as that. A variable defined or declared, a variable initialized, a variable used. All done. Now comes something called as a for loop. If I say for int j is j equals 1, j is less than 10, and I say semicolon j equals j plus 1. I need a new keyboard. My keys are hard pressed in. All right. What is it that this is trying to do, team? If I print this, let us get to know what it is doing first, then we will say. Here I'll say j is plus j itself, the value. Now let's kind of understand what happens. So 10 came from here, so we can ignore that. J is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The whole point is very simple, team. The for loop can be broken into three sections. The first is, where does my count start from? That is a number. Okay. It can be 0, 1, 2, 100, a million, whatever you want to put. Where does the count start from? The second is where my count ends, or a condition which says as long as this is true, keep going. The third is how many, what is my step increment? Should I increase the number of uh, value of j or I by certain amount? Now the same thing, you should play around to get an idea. If I say j is 100 and j is less than 110 and run this, now think what will happen. Let's comment this. I don't need I for now. From 100 to 109. Now the same thing, if I say j equals j plus 2, each time I'm incrementing it by 2, but my condition is still the same. How many lines will come, team? Can you imagine? Here almost 10 came. Now how many will come? 5. So think of it like this. You have stairs, you take one step at a time. There are 10 stairs. You take two steps at a time. There'll be 5 stairs for us. All right. So now approximately, even if it is here and there, but they're about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Now you could change this whole logic, team. What if I start my j from 0? It doesn't take too long for Java to print all this. See, from 0 to 4, 6, and so on. So for loop has got only 3 points. Where should I start count? Where should I end my count? How much should I skip by? Okay. So now in my code, when I'm saying that I equals 0, that means that I'm starting my count from the first row. Do I need my first row? I do not. Why? Because my first row is labeled. So let me start my this what? 1. I is less than x rows. So it will tell me 10 rows. So anyway, the rows count from 0. So if it's less than 10, it's still fine. So this should be fine. I equals I plus 1, one row at a time. Otherwise, we are saying, skip one row each time. Now this entire code that we did earlier, I'm going to take this and put it inside this for loop. And the only change here is how I read my variables. And I'll say xtd, open square brackets, my row number is driven by I, but my column number is coming straight from here. So TDID is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm assuming this is 0. Okay. So see what I'm saying now? I already read it till my Java code. Now I'm putting it into the variable, and that will go into wherever I want in the application, right? Now, at least for today, let's run and see, team. Sorry, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, URL. URL is not there for us. Here, URL is there and set. Where is URL set? Not even using URL for now. It's hard coded. So that's fine. So then it's a problem. This should be 0. And then this should be 1. Correct, team? Am I doing it right? Everyone? And 2 and 3. Okay, I'm mapping this 4 with these 4 here. Tomorrow session we'll do the remaining 2 columns. At least we are able to run this and see. EDF3 saved. So I want to read DDF3 and it'll run, and we'll see the outputs. Why can't we use two for loops? Why do you need two for loops? Because you already know your column names, correct? So it's not like I don't know my rows or columns. Your column names are very strict, so you have that nested loops. For reading data, we were using, but not here. You want strictness in where that column. 0 means this, 1 means this, 2 means down payment, 3 means EMI. So this is where I'm getting my results team and saying that this is what I'm getting pass, fail, pass, fail. So I'm able to take one scenario but run it against multiple set of data. Tomorrow we'll see how we can take this and also put it back into that Excel, all right, and understand how results can flow. Then we will get into keyword driven framework. Any questions for me, please? I'm just pausing. Sorry it took so long today. And I did ask the audience if you have any queries, questions, challenges during practice. If you do, please let me know tomorrow when we're doing the session, and I'll be glad to assist. Team, everything okay in terms of your learning so far? Any challenges? I know from website and some deliverables from our side we're late, um, but otherwise, are you able to learn enough sufficiently? If you do, if you know team, just refer us. That's the only way we kind of are able to do things. Could you or staff send me the welcome package? Oh, sure, Rahman, we will. Thank you, everyone. Bye now. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, all of you. Bye.